when clients feel that their needs are not being met, then I take off my manager's hat and I advocate 200% for the client. And I help the client access whatever services they need pretty quickly. I coordinate with the managers in the 3 counties to make sure that the client's needs are met. If it's something that they've identified as not happening, if it's disrespect, whatever it is, whatever the client's perception where they've been mistreated, it's dealt with seriously by me, and it's taken care of. 99% of the time it's resolved on a local level, which means I can just contact Eric Turner here in Anderson, and we are able to work out a plan to help the client with their needs. If it needs to go further and I need to report to SLED, I do that as well. Fill out the necessary paperwork so that they can do a proper investigation. So my name is posted, and it is posted at the mental health centers in regards to if you need to talk with the advocate, they will send you straight to me.
Let me just say that if you have specific issues related to services, maybe at the mental health center, I know these folks will be willing to talk with you afterwards on a more one-on-one basis. So we're going to try to hold our program to an hour tonight, so we want to make sure our last 2 speakers have adequate time.
Okay, like I said, I'm going to talk about pediatric childhood and adolescent depression, and I want to tack on to what Tracy talked about with symptoms of depressed mood, and I'm going to repeat some of what she said, and I think it's important to repeat those, and then I'm going to talk about what you might see that's unique to children with a depressed mood. Like Tracy said, significant weight loss or weight gain. There's a significant shift in weight one way or the other because either A, they're not hungry, or they're just loss of energy and they're just extremely sedentary and may just up their eating quite a bit. So you might see one or the other extreme. Insomnia or just sleeping all the time. And then again, lack of energy, feelings of worthlessness and guilt. The guilt is huge, I think, with depressed mood. You'll see that they're just extremely guilty in their relationships with their friends, that they maybe said something wrong so that friend doesn't like them anymore. And that you'll see these overgeneralizations when a child or adolescent speaks to you with a depressed mood, that everybody hates me, my family hates me, just these very extreme overgeneralizations that they will speak with. And of course the decrease in concentration and lack of decision making. They are not able to make clear decisions for themselves. And then what's so important, what we keep touching on, are those recurrent thoughts of death or suicide. So just to tackle on even more, what you'll see specifically in children and adolescents is just a very irritable mood. They just cannot seem to pull themselves together, just very irritable and angry most of the time. And then you'll see, and I don't think we touched on this yet, with depression comes physical illness. Often in children and adolescents, you'll see stomach pain, you'll see headaches. Again, that's what we call psychosomatic, where they're just in emotional pain, and that translates into just physical pain. And they might not even be eating anyway, so they just feel overall not well physically. And then frequent absences from school, and usually poor performance in school as well. You'll start to see that their grades are dropping because they just can't get through their day. They cannot get through their homework assignments. They don't have the energy or the concentration to do so. And they're complaining of being bored. They're not concentrating, they're just bored. It's a long day at school for them. And then with adolescents, you might see the alcohol and or substance abuse. And frequently they might be getting prescription pills from friends. You'll see that quite a bit, that they might be getting an anti-anxiety pill from a friend, they might be getting an antidepressant from friends, so we see that quite a bit. And just reckless behavior, you might see that as well. So just imagine a child with all of those symptoms going on, expected to get through 8 to 3 hour, from 8 o'clock, 3 p.m. at school. They're expected to have high energy, good concentration, good focus, good relationships, good response with their teachers, and all of that is just falling apart for them. So you can only imagine. So then, what happens with the parents? Parents are seeing all these symptoms, and it may be first treated as misconduct. It's a conduct issue. Teachers are saying this child is doing poorly in school. Parents are having trouble connecting with their child. They're just not able to help them either calm down or be less irritable. They're seeing that they're isolated in their room constantly, so there's this disconnect. Sometimes there's either a disconnect and isolation or just extreme levels of conflict in the home. So parents become quite frustrated, which is a natural process in my opinion. So what we need to be careful about, I think, in our position is teasing out, is it ADHD? Is it post-trauma? We have to rule out definitively that this is not a child who's experienced physical abuse, sexual abuse, some kind of loss of a family member, grief, because the symptoms of grief and bereavement match almost identical to a depressed mood. The big difference there is that when you're in a grief state, you still have a good self-esteem. You still feel good about yourself. It's just you're grieving a loss. In depressed mood, you don't feel good about yourself. You don't have a positive self-esteem about yourself. So that's the big difference. So we rule out trauma. We of course rule out substance use, alcohol use, ADHD. ADHD can often go right along with depressed mood. We can often diagnose the two of them together. Anything else that typically coincides with depressed mood in children and adolescents? Not forgetting anything. Of course, oppositional defiance and conduct disorder, might be diagnosed first, but they're really depressed. So we just need to be careful of how we work with schools and how are they, what are they seeing in school might be very different from what parents are seeing at home or what we see in our office, things like that. So, the screening for depressed mood in children and adolescents is very tedious at times because we need to be just very careful because if it's oppositional defiance or conduct disorder and they're not getting the meds that they need, they're not getting the counseling that they need, they're going to continue to maybe get in trouble. And as an adolescent, they could end up, incarcerated at some point. So we really want to be sure that we're diagnosing appropriately. And then, adolescents with suicidal ideation and planning. That is, safety is the first and foremost thing that we screen for with adolescents with depressed mood. Each session that they come in, we screen. Are they thinking about harming themselves? Are they, all the high-risk factors that we go through, have they attempted to harm themselves or attempted to commit suicide in the past? Are they using substances? Have they had a breakup in a relationship that's caused even more turmoil in their lives? Have they had a death of a loved one on top of having a depressed mood? So all those things we want to screen when we're looking at suicide. And of course, if they are thinking about suicide and they are beginning to plan a suicide and they have the means to do it, so of course we tell the caregiver we get them to the ER if it's after hours or to the access center at ANMED. But they need to be supervised 100% at that point. There's, no question about that. They have to be supervised and they have to be evaluated for inpatient hospitalization.
What are the inpatient hospitalization options for a child and adolescent?
For children and adolescents, we typically, if they live in Anderson, we will often, have them evaluated sometimes at the ER in Anderson. But then they might go either to Marshall Pickens. They often use the facility in Aiken. The Aurora Pavilion has an child and adolescent unit.